Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline. I've recorded this video so many times. I have done like 3 copies of it just because things keep updating in my life. And anyway, I'm going to upload this one without doing editing or anything. So this is just a simple update on what's happening in my life and what's going on. Last time I spoke to y'all, I was getting a second job, which I did get, and I work at 3 days a week, and it's pretty nice. I'm saving up the money I need to save up to go on the vacations that I want to do. First trip will be Glacier National Park, hopefully in the end of August. In November, I'll be going to Los Angeles for my birthday and probably see the people I knew there when I lived there. And then there is my hormone therapy update, which people have been talking about and trying to decipher what I'm doing. So the one thing that's going on is that, okay, so I've been on hormones now since 2008. It's a long time. And I had a doctor in the years of 2017 through 2019 that was an inexperienced doctor, and he prescribed me a very large dose of spironolactone. And for a lot of you trans women out there, you know what that is. That is a anti-androgen. It is also incredibly high, and dosage is very aggressive. And he gave me a huge dose. And every time I would go in, I was like, do we really need this much? He was like, well, we just want to get rid of all that testosterone. So sure enough, over the years, I ended up getting a new doctor, and she was just quite shocked that I didn't have any testosterone whatsoever. It was always undetectable. And so I spoke to her about it, and I was like, and I haven't been on the spironolactone in 2 years. I knew that there was something wrong with taking that dosage, so I stopped taking it immediately in like 2019, 2020 maybe. And so she was like, well, let's try and see if we can get your testosterone to come back up. And now, for those who don't know, like cis women are supposed to have between 50 and 250 as a level of testosterone. Cis men are 500 to like 750, and teenage boys are like 1,000 up. And so for trans women, they like to get you to around 50 to 100, like they just kind of keep it there. But before we knew all this information, they would try to eliminate the testosterone. They were like, no testosterone, and that's what happened to me. And so my libido was gone. I was dealing with issues in that department. I was dealing with exhaustion. Also at the gym, I had to work so much harder to achieve the goals I was getting, and low energy levels and all of that. So depression comes along with it, and also hair loss. You can lose your hair, and I didn't experience that, but hair loss with low testosterone is a side effect. It's interesting. So my doctor, we eventually decided after doing all these things, trying to get it to come back, to give me a low dosage of testosterone. And it's the lowest dose you can do, and it's just a cream. But it really has changed my life. I mean, after 2 weeks, my libido is through the roof. I'm like dating and talking to people. I've already broken a dry spell with this guy that's so hot. He's just so hot. And that's just fun and all of that. And it's one of these things where, so I feel like I'm kind of alive again in that department, which is very nice. Everyone says I'm being much nicer, which is really cool. And the gym seems to be helping a bit, but I can't really tell. I feel like I'm eating more, but I'm not really gaining fat. I'm gaining more muscle. I don't know. I don't know if that's like has anything to do with it or not. We'll have to see. It's a mystery. So that's what's been happening in the hormone front, and it's pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie. So I recommend, if you have no libido and your energy's super low and things aren't working down there, because at the end of the day, like, I like my body, and I actually am never going to get SRS. I have absolutely no interest in it. And so I really don't have interest in it. Like, I've had some phenomenal sex in my life, we'll put it that way. So when it comes to, having sexual intercourse with that, I'm like, I'm fine with this. This doesn't bother me. I'm not personally bothered by myself, like looking at myself. And things aren't the same. Like, I've also tried to explain to people, I'm like, a woman's dick is not the same as a man's dick. It's different. Everything about it's different. There's like textural changes. Everything's different. So people think, oh, well, it's just a man. It's not the same. It's things change. And I'm very happy with the way that is. Everything's fine in that department. And so, where's it going with this? I was talking about, fuck, I have no idea. We got distracted by dick. Oh yeah. So I have no interest in getting testosterone. I mean, that surgery done. So if I'm going to have that, then I might as well be able to enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of the point. I was like, libido wise and all that. Anywho, so that's why. And it really has done exactly what I was hoping it would do, which is a little surprising. But my estrogen's still high, and my testosterone is probably sitting around 50. That's what we're thinking. So it's still pretty low. And that's about it. That's been happening in that department, hormone therapy and dating. Oh yeah, my gym crush came up to me, gave me his number, and I hung out with him for a little while. We worked out together, and then which was fine, and then we ended up hanging out, and it was pretty terrible. He was so aggressive. He didn't know I was trans, and I told him, and he was like, "I don't care," which is usually the case. He's like, "I don't care," and then he was very aggressive, like trying to make me sit next to him, and it was just this like this energy was really bad, and I didn't like it. And he tried to kiss me. It was probably the worst approach ever. The look of disgust on my face. I was like, "Oh God." And I was like, oh. Anyway, so then I was like, I have to go to my other job. And I just like left. I was like, I gotta go. And dude was texting, and then I was just like, I'm not really gonna respond to this one. This one's a no go. It is a no. He went from gym crush to gym get the fuck away from me. Real quick. Anyway, so there is one more gym crush though. That's the hot one, the really hot one. And if he gave me a smile the other day, but I can't tell if it's the testosterone. I think it's like making me like do stupid shit. Like I think I'm smiling at people, or I'm looking at people, or I don't know. It's a very strange thing. Like I had to really question. I was like, when I started taking the testosterone, I was like, am I in control of my mind? Because I feel like I'm like flirting with people, or they're picking up on something. I mean, these guys are coming up to me and just hitting on me. And I'm like, what, really? I mean, and I worked out with a guy for 2 hours. 2 hours I worked out with him. And he had no idea I was trans. He was like in a state of shock when I told him. I was like, fuck, do I not come off as trans? I'm like, I work out a lot. I feel like I have some pretty big muscles. My voice is pretty deep. I don't know. I guess like people are just unaware. I have no idea. So, and then I've actually recently experienced some pretty intense like transphobia from, of course, people I know. And it's always people, you know what it is? It's like I find there's some okay to be trans and also to be in the position that I'm in. I'm not like going to just accept people for their beliefs. I'm not gonna. Obviously, you can tell. Like I'm not just gonna be friends with conservative people, knowing that they support people that think trans women are mentally deranged and don't need to go in the bathroom. Like I'm not going in the women's bathroom. I'm not going to be friends with people that support people in that way. So there's one of these things where I'm very blunt with it. Now, I could just play the game. I mean, I am pretty. I could just get real thin, real basic. I could even talk about Jesus a bit. And I'd probably do really, really, really well. Like, if I was interested in being just rich and superficial and hollow and in this world, I think I could do a really good job. But the question is, does happiness come from those things? And it does not. And I think happiness comes from yourself. I think you're your own best friend, and I think we're also our own worst enemy. And it's one of these things where, in the end, the only person that matters is you and the way you view yourself and your life. And so for me, and to be that way, you have to have quite a spine. Now, I don't really want to think of myself as having this ego where I'm like, oh, I've done all this and I'm confident and blah, blah. No, no, I still feel pain. I still get hurt easily by people. I still get surprised by people. But the thing is, I've learned to have a very tough hide of skin to be able to like withstand the blows. But sometimes it's a surprise attack. You just don't see it coming, or to that level of maliciousness. And so recently, I had a few of my clients that went to a birthday party. I'd just done one's hair literally right before she went, and it looked so good. And she shows up, and everybody was like, "There's this girl's birthday party is a lesbian, and she has a crush on me." And she was like, "Did sexy Jacqueline do your hair?" And there's this gay guy that is an acquaintance of people I work with, a good friend of multiple people I work with, and I've only ever spoken to him 2, 3 times. And it still solidifies my belief that millennials, especially millennial up gay men, are some of the worst, most transphobic people I've ever met in my entire life. Like, they will never think I'm a woman. Doesn't matter what I look like, if I have a pussy or if I don't, doesn't matter what happens. These people are just like, they cannot empathize or even visualize or even just accept it. Because gay men, especially in that generation, It's this whole like superficial persona that's like very fragile. And so with me, like I feel like I want to be authentically strong. I want to be authentically myself and honest and truthful. And people see that and they hate it. So they do have to cut you down. I've dealt with it over my entire life. And so this person made fun of me for working out because I'm trans, and they were like, he was like, "Isn't she trying to be a woman? I mean, why does she lift weights? You know?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I've been living my life as a woman for almost like what, since I was 22 years old, and I'm 37, and it's still not enough for these people to think she's trying to be a woman. You know, it's such a joke because people don't actually think I'm a woman. And this is so many people. So even cis allies are the fucking worst, I swear to God. So, and gay men are just awful when it comes to it. They really are. And so he was like, "Oh, yeah, and her name isn't Jacqueline, and he did name me." And I heard this from several clients, and I think they stopped talking to him and just left him for the night. But I started to think about it. I was like, okay, I transitioned a long time ago. There's only so many people that remember that name or know that name. And I really had to rack my brain around how he knew. Not that I care. He's an insecure middle aged gay man that's, dealing with a lot of fucking issues, obviously. So he took time out of his way to maliciously attack me, and I barely even know the guy. So obviously, it's not my problem. It's definitely his. And so when it comes to this, I was like, who knew my old name and who gave him that information? And it just so happens it's someone I went to high school with that I work with. And it's obvious there's no one else that could have possibly given this person that name. And it's one of these, it's always the same people that think like, they always say, "Oh, I'm an empath," or "I have such like," they talk about positive energy and never saying mean things or always being nice, and such a beautiful soul, such like putting it out in the universe and then it comes back to you. It's always those people. And whenever I say it, I'm like, red fucking flag. Like such a red flag. And for some of the most toxic, malicious people, it's always those people. And so this individual, evidently, she also works with him and has a business acquaintanceship with him. And I don't want to out people too much on here because I really just don't need to get him back to me again. And so she, in a moment of volition, she just told him that name, and they made fun of me for working out. And she's definitely very insecure about her body and being overweight or having fat on her, and she's very, very competitive. And I can see why she did it from a level of insecurity, a level of it's her own issue. Same thing with the gay guy. And so I see people that lash out and I see it as like it's their own personal issue. I would never want to like, be friends with them. Like I couldn't do that because I would call them out in a heartbeat. But I don't wish them ill will. Like I really don't, because I just understand that they don't understand themselves. They don't even know who they are. Most people that attack trans people, because we've done so much work on ourselves, have no idea who they are. They like to think they know, but they have no idea. And so, and we have to deal with the repercussions of them not doing self-reflection or anything like that. It's quite fascinating. So I had to deal with that. And then, of course, I'm sure y'all have seen my community posts where, this guy randomly comes out and says, "I am not ashamed to be a white male." And I was being sarcastic, and I was like, "Well, you should be," and I'm sure y'all saw the post, and he was like, "Well, don't forget you're one too." So here we go. So there's another man on my page that follows a trans woman's page, and obviously thinks I'm a man, but he's here for a reason, which means he's definitely into trans women, which is a little weird because obviously if he's into trans women, and he sees them as men, that makes him a closeted gay man, which is fascinating, to be honest, and sad at the same time. And that's what we have to deal with. And it sucks. As a trans woman, I've dealt with it for so long that it doesn't bother me. But there's so many trans women that have to deal with someone close they work with outing their dead name to a person who uses it maliciously in front of people that are close to them. It's pretty, if you really look at it, trans women commit suicide over shit like that. It's dangerous. Like, and then they'll be like, "Oh, well, you just have too many feelings," but they're the first to blow up when you call them out on anything. It's always those types of people. And so we have a very, very difficult life. And it's not easy. It could always be harder. I could be African American. I could be black. I could be a black trans woman, and I would be absolutely fucked. I mean, in every way possible. It sucks. It really does, because the system that's in place, the murders that happen with it, it's really, really, really. We have a horrific. There's horrific things. I mean, look at Texas. They're knocking on doors of parents and asking their children if they've tried to like help them with gender dysphoria, and then they arrest them, for child abuse. It's absurd. Just trying to help their kid deal with their gender dysphoria. It's horrible. These conservative, people are just so malicious. And they're always the ones caught in the bathroom with some guy, or some trans woman or something. They're always the ones doing the thing they hate. And it's because they hate themselves. And that's why. Anyway, so that is what's been going on in my life. It's kind of a lot. It's a lot to talk about. I'm going to get back to doing some more live streaming soon. I'm currently working those 2 jobs and dealing with all this bullshit with my mind. So I'm busy and mentally a little exhausted sometimes. But I hope y'all are doing well. I'm going to do another update soon. Probably go live. Anyway, I wish you all the best. I hope this video has information you appreciate in it, and I will talk to you later.